Hello everybody. So apparently, unable to just make sure that the mic is working. I checked that I was not muting it, but apparently I had just unplugged it, so that's not actually helpful. I just had pulled out, so... Oh well, I guess I'm just recording a voiceover for this. So we're doing Vayne versus Nautilus in this run. So I look at these, and normally this is an easy pick. Sharing is caring. When you summon an ally, grant its keywords to all allies. That's a very strong power. And it's even worth considering still in Vayne's deck. The problem is, Vayne's deck doesn't have many keywords. And most of our units have more health than power, which makes the best defense kind of bad. It still could kind of work as like a makeshift regenerate, but overall I'm not that impressed by it. And even just like kind of trying to pick for it, I don't think there's a lot of great options. But here you can see I'm kind of going through and showing like how more or less nothing has keywords. There's not anything to really share. We could get some Challenger. Vayne doesn't have a keyword. The items we've gotten on units don't give keywords, so I end up taking the middle one, hold them off here for round start Frostbite, because it's just going to be useful in theory against Nautilus and all the sea monsters. I agree with the decision. I hate that I have to pass up one of my favorite powers, which is sharing is caring, but there's just not anything really to share in this deck. Like, we could maybe give some things Challenger. That's neat, but not really the height of this this power's potential. And I don't really want to have to pick towards that and make subpar picks in order to make this power work, you know. So here I mulligan the Watchdog just because it's kind of the weakest card. I end up getting Condemn, it's fine. We find Vayne though, and Vayne is great, of course. Excuse me. I'm sure I'm talking about something here, but honestly, there isn't a whole lot to talk about. Like, I played at 1-drop. I could attack, I end up not, because running a 2-4 into a 2-4 is mostly just makes 2/2/2s. I think I'd rather have more health on our Elk, and that thing's about to become a 0-4, which is way worse anyway. So why give it the opportunity to actually use that toughness? Now, I don't think they're going to attack here, and when they do, I guess the AI just wants to get the last breath. Who knows? But we end up obviously not even losing a single point of health off of our Elk. Our Elk is now a beefy boy. And we get to play Vayne. I believe we play Vayne here. Yep, looks like we play Vayne.
Still lurk in Demasia's every shadow.
Now they end up getting this nerd, the 4-2, which is annoying, but thankfully that Gwensu's is going to boost Vayne over its 4 power. We have a 4-1 Vayne, which is fine. We have a lot of ways to give Vayne toughness, which ends up working out for us pretty well. So I talked about Sea Scarab in the, like, basically this entire run, because every single round, other than the mid-boss fight against Sejuani, you can pick to play against either a sea monster's level or something else. And all of the sea monsters have Deep Scarab, or Sea Scarab. And it's quite a good card. It's one of their best early plays. And if it is in play, and stays in play, it means that they're going to get to deep very fast. Thankfully, they just kind of have to block our 8-power Vayne attacking them, because otherwise they're going to die very quickly. Now, I don't just win, I'm 1 point short here. This is 13. The attack from Vayne would be 14. So we do have to put one more point of power into play. So I opt to... I think weirdly I opt to play something weird off here. I don't remember what I do now, though. I go with the Zealous and Ranger Knight. Right, okay, and then just nothing. Oh, they do have a play. They do have a play here. So I go to attack with this, which is going to boost everything, but and that's fine. They kill Vayne. But because I played the Ranger Knight, that's what I was contemplating, was like, what if they have a removal spell for Vayne, who's our biggest source of damage, and that's why they didn't play anything, which is, I was right. We can still kill them. We should have been able to still kill them, in my mind, but this doesn't get +1 for attacking, so we're just going to leave them at 1, which is not the correct, not correct, as it turns out. I think that it would have been better if I had equipped the Ranger Knight before attacking, because they already have not done anything. They're unlikely to not do anything again, and even if they do, we still should just kill them. Between playing something in Tumble and whatever. I can just condemn this. I don't want to take the damage. There's no reason to, so let's just spend 5 mana and get rid of it. And then I put the 1 mana equipment on just because. It is not a good card. It is not a good card in this deck. I hate that it's one of the early cards that gets an item, like giving a challenger, because I really don't ever feel like I want it in the deck even. Between that and like golden spatulas, you just end up with so many equipment in your hand anyway as Vayne's deck. I would rather have like something else have gotten upgraded. And in fact, I cut the Demacian. I don't even remember what that card is called. The 1/1 equipment, the +1/+1 equipment for 1 in Demacia. So Avatar of the Tides is a really cool card. I don't like any of these options particularly, but putting another like draw card onto Fish Fight is fine. I'm okay with it. So I end up taking it. We end up with, that does mean we have a lot of fish fights, and I'm like a little bit worried about how few creatures we have, or how few units we have. Misfortune feels like it would be on theme. She has Scout, she has the same flip condition as Vayne. The problem is I don't like any of those units. Misfortune's power is extra useless in this because everything has +1 toughness anyway. Crackshot isn't really what we're looking to do in a lot of ways. Even like it's a few extra points of chip damage, but it doesn't really do that much for us, and it's kind of a weak unit. And the 4 mana 2/4 Scout thing that I don't remember the name of is pretty mediocre. We just have better cards in our deck overall. So I end up taking Ash because Ash is the sort of card that in a long game can really, really win you the game. Here I throw back pretty much everything. I keep the Zealous Ranger Knight. My ongoing issue with this deck of like not having a 2-drop I actually want, because this Zealous Ranger Knight is almost always kind of bad on turn 2, continues, but I do have to keep it because it's the only 2-drop we have. But overall, I would rather have the Elk to start the game like every single time. And here you see that rather than playing the 2-drop, I just make a big Elk. Now, they Frostbite it, so it doesn't end up mattering, but they still can't really attack either. Like, they literally can, but it's not that useful. And they play a Rhymefang Wolf, which does scare me a little bit. Just in case they have Brittle Steel, I check here for if it's power or health, because I can't remember. So I always mix up which one is which. They attack into Vayne just to reduce both of their powers, I guess, but it's not that big of a deal. I get stuck in the Rhymefang main menu. I'm just trying to like get out of it on PC. I generally play this game on mobile, and I really only play on PC when I'm recording for this. So I do sometimes just get lost in controls, which, if you're paying attention to the background, you can basically like see me fumble around and figure out what I'm supposed to do to actually get out of this. Like I would just intuitively know that I'm supposed to tap the screen to get out of something on my phone. I didn't realize it was the same way on PC. Vayne attacks into the Rhymefang Wolf. We have 1 mana up, which is why I'm okay with this, because even if they Frostbite Vayne there, the Wolf could be reduced to 0 power. Now they do Frostbite it after combat, which is weird. They could have done that differently, but I guess maybe they couldn't have, although I don't think the AI factors this in, that Gwynsu's would have given it +1/+1, so they played it when they could, I guess. They're going to Brittle Steel here, which is sad. Our Vayne is now big sad. We have to kill this Rhymefang Wolf, because if they attack into Vayne, that is quite bad. So instead I use Fish Fight to attack the Wolf, and it's going to unequip the Spatular. But I think I end up playing... I feel like I end up playing Ash here. Or I might... I could also play the Spatula and Fish Fight. I don't know which one I end up going with. I do know, I think, that, like, at some point in this run, I kind of forget about Flipped Ash's power. When she's leveled, she makes it so zero power things can't attack. And I kind of realize that at some point that I make a mistake by not just playing Ash and attacking, because that would have actually won the game instead. Instead, it draws it out a little bit, which doesn't end up mattering. But
that clumsy
no, that might have been here.
away.
I forget. For some reason, Vayne is still alive. Weird thing to say. I thought that Vayne died, but maybe she dies next round, or maybe that's in a different round. Who knows? So I can tumble in, and I think that flips Vayne, I want to say. I decide to tumble the Ranger Knight because it'll give +1/+1 to both of our other things. Oh, yeah, this is the round. Yeah, so this first round with Ash, I forget about if leveled Ash makes it so they can't block. They end up blocking there, which is enough that they're just not going to die from this play at all. And the 0/4 can still block when everything attacks. If I just played Ash, then they would have ended up, like, we would have ended up fish fighting something here to remove it, that 3/2, or the 2/3 Omen Hawk, whichever. And then none of their things would be able to block, because when Ash attacks, she frostbites something, and everything on their side of the board would have 0 power, and we would just kill them. Instead, we don't do that. We kind of play this attrition game where we're definitely still going to win, it's just we could have won quicker. I'm not giving them an opportunity to draw something, or find a way to sneak some damage through to us, or whatever it is.
Isn't the only danger.
In this case, though, it's really not that big of a deal.
Trap is set.
I end up fish fighting here, I believe, mostly just to get rid of that thing while it's easy to do so. There's no combat, like, or, no response frostbites that are going to happen. Whatever. So they get their Yeti. They just put that into their deck. They just drew it. It's a good card, but at this point we're pretty set up with Vayne. We get free attacks with Vayne every turn. We can swap the golden spatulas around so that we always have kind of a topped-off Vayne in terms of health. I play Ash, mostly just to say that we flicked Ash. And I think that that look backwards and eye roll up is me realizing that I could have, like, won last turn, probably, if I'd used Ash, who also has Overwhelm, instead. But, you know, live and learn. So ultimately, it didn't cost me anything. I was just kind of thinking about, like, the normal back and forth of the game, and making sure that we didn't just lose to predictable combat situations, and instead I didn't think about that they already had a 0 power thing in play. We'd already reduced something else's power to play. That's what it was. We'd already reduced the Omen Hawk's power to 0 at the beginning of the turn, and then we could have just played Ash, frostbitten, attacked, and that would have been 20. Here, however, I see a beautiful sight, which is a Starlit Seer, which is also a 2/3 for 2, but it has a relevant ability, and this one comes with Challenger, and that makes me like it so much more than the Zealous Ranger Knight. At the Solitary Monk, I just cut the Demacian Steel. I don't even really consider anything else. It's just clunky, and I've already added a few spells to the deck, and I'm worried that I'm not going to end up having enough units in some of these opening hands, which is an easy way to die. Now, I consider buying the power. Honestly, buying powers is probably correct. I find it really boring to do, especially in these early runs, so a lot of times I just kind of don't, because, I mean, frankly, like, it feels like a thing that I only have because I'm so high level in the mode, and I want there to be some sort of a challenge, and frankly, most people just can't buy powers at the shops. I take the Sudden Surge because it says grow a unit to a 5/5. Now, I'm going to end up cutting it because one thing that I thought would be true is that if a equipped unit got that 5/5, that it would boost the power and toughness before the equipment was equipment's bonus to be a 5/5. So, like, say if we, you know, have a Golden Spatula and a Vayne who's a 3/4, And then, so now with the spatula, it's a, what, 6/6, right? That this like spell that I just picked up would make it into a 5/5 +3/+2 from the golden spatula, right? As it turns out, that's not how it works, so I very quickly cut this card again, making this a complete waste of money and now time in drawing it. But thankfully, spoiler alert, it doesn't really cost me anything. It does still say draw a card, which makes it not the worst, but I still don't want to see it. At that point, I was just annoyed with it, so I'm just getting rid of it. Shipwreck Order is a weird mission. It says, at the beginning of each turn, both players toss one and create a Sunken Treasure in their hands, which is a 5-mana spell that says create 5 0-cost random fleeting spells, or fleeting cards. It can obviously be absurd if you get a bunch of expensive stuff, or it can be completely useless if you get a bunch of situational spells, or bad units, or things you just can't even play. So I play I attack with the Steadfast Elk into their 1/4. They block because they don't want to take 5. This mission is like slightly gambly in that you can just lose because they hit right. I've definitely had times where they hit just multiple big celestial things off of it, and it feels more like the 10-mana equivalent kind of spell, which is create 10 fleeting celestial cards in hand, refill your mana, which that can also kind of just end you, but it's also 10 mana, which makes sense. Here, sometimes they just make multiple of those giant celestial cards that you normally have to pay 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 mana for, and they just all cost 0 for the turn. And then you're quite sad. So they're like random cards that they've created this turn from that shipwreck, or from that Sunken Treasure, are a Burblefish with a Quick Quill, which is the other end of the spectrum, where they really didn't get anything. So for 5 mana and multiple cards actually played, they created a 3/3 elusive first strike. Well done. I actually thought this was a Sunken Treasure at first, but it's a Lure of the Depths, which just have similar art when I'm glancing at them. That's Treasure. Oh, it's not Sunken Treasure, Treasure Trove. That's the name of the card. So, having learned my lesson from last time, I thought that I was going to play the Ash. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I haven't learned my lesson. I think I should still have just played the Ash. She's so much damage. And she's got Overwhelm. So they play Shroud of Darkness, which does something or another. And it's then don't play anything, which is curious. And then they play a Sea Scarab. Not the order I would have done it in. So they can just eat, or they could just eat the Ranger Knight Captain with the Scarab. They are not close to deep, by the way. But they don't. They choose to block in kind of a weird order. I would think that, like, if they're going to chump block anyway, that they would put the 0 power fish in front of Vayne and the Scarab in front of the 2/3, but they didn't. I think they value elusive really highly for some reason. I mean, it's a powerful keyword, don't get me wrong, but the Sea Scarab was just way better for them here. Now, common problem for me this game is these treasure troves. I keep getting them with 7 cards in hand, which means that I will not get the full 5 cards, and I really don't want to play the card anymore once that's the case. I think this is the turn where I test how this sudden surge thing, that last card that we just added to the deck that I kind of spoiled and said we end up cutting. I think that I end up using that this turn, but I don't recall. It might be next turn. So we jump in, we get rid of the fish. I don't know why they didn't just block the other way. They've got this 0/4 thing that they normally shouldn't have access to. They've made a Heart of the Fluff. Oh, because of Treasure Trove, right. They played another Treasure Trove this turn. So they've made a Heart of the Fluff, which is a 6/7. That is pretty big. And they make a 2/3, or a 5/5, I mean. And then they equip the 5/5 with your spells and skills deal 1 extra damage, which isn't really relevant. Doesn't do anything. And then they put a Quick Quill onto the Sunforger that doesn't have lifelink. So they have a 6/6.
Channel our power!
And then last thing they do is rummage to discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards, which isn't terrible, actually. So I tried this on the elk to see if it's going to like become a bigger elk. It does not. Yay. So basically I just spent 2 mana to draw a card. That was pretty bad. I could have done it on the other unit, but I decide to block so that the fluffed dies, mostly just because it feels like it's probably going to trade at some point anyway, and I'd rather just have that happen here. We have another Vayne in hand, and this way we get to play our Watchwolf. Wolf Hound, whatever that thing is called. It's now a 5/5. What I forgot was that Heart of the Fluff for some reason is a 5/6. I think it got +1/+1 off of like Poro Snacks or something. So again, we still can't play, because we keep creating cards into our hand, we still cannot play the Sunken Treasure for all 5 cards. So this time, having learned my lesson and looking at 2 units that have 0 power, I realize maybe this time I should actually just play Ash, since I think we're about to flip her anyway, if we attack. Now we have 2 mana left. I can Brittle Steel that 2/2, and then the attack will mean that Ash flips off of the Frostbite of the Heart of the Fluff, and then all of their things have 0 power, so they can't block. Fixing the mistake from last game, which was where I decided I didn't really feel like winning the game. Wait, did I? Okay, yeah, I did flat. For a second I thought I didn't Frostbite the Dredge Manglers, whatever those things are called.
The war is over. Now we rebuild.
So, from here on out, I am much more keen on just actually playing Ash, so that I can get her very powerful they can't block ability. Here I take this Catch. Orin's Forge is, even though it kind of fits the theme of the deck, it's really slow and kind of bad. The Omen Hawk is actually not terrible. With all the equipment, bodies are useful. So Omen Hawks being a 1 mana 1/1 is bad, and it's on when summon. I didn't really think about how that would actually trigger, and we'd end up giving the next few things in our deck +2/+2. But it doesn't matter. The Catch ends up being very good, and it draws us a champion. From the item shop, I end up taking -1 cost to Vayne, because it's just very good to make her cost only 2, especially when her condition to flip is seeing you attack 4 times. That means getting her out 1 turn earlier is very, very good. Now we've already got her, so we're going to get to play a turn 2 Vayne. Now this is kind of the beginning of when they are going to have 2 mana on us when we start the match. To our 1, so it's a little bit of an uphill battle, not gonna lie. Now we have no play here, so we just have to take 3. But the very nice thing is, this means, because the Vayne is now 2 and that Catch costs 1, we can actually play Vayne, attack with Vayne, and catch the equipment onto her. I think I consider whether I should just wait and see if they'll make a weird block. But I think either way they're gonna block Vayne with the 4/3, so I don't really care too much. Get in there. They don't take any damage, but getting rid of that very large unit right away is quite nice. Now the Sentry thing is like a 0/3 again because it got frostbitten. Here, my options are I can fish fight, but there's nothing really to fish fight that I'm too worried about. I end up playing the Starlit Seer, mostly just because I can use the Brittle thing as a spell, which isn't bad to give the next unit we draw a little bit of power and toughness, or power and health. And I thought that I was going to be able to block with Vayne, so that would mean that Vayne could actually block the 3/3 and kill it. Here, they end up playing 2 spells to kill Vayne, which is, it's fine with me, but I am moderately disappointed, you know? It doesn't matter which one wait, sorry. I do mess up here. I should have frostbit the other one. For some reason, I just wasn't thinking. I should have frostbit the 3/3 because I obviously can't block the 2/3, but what I was saying was it doesn't matter, they're both 3, and then I went to block and I was like, well, I mean, 1 literally does only deal 2 damage, and it's the impact that gets you. So, I could have only taken 1, instead I took 3. Now we play Ash. They are, I believe, one turn off of playing Sejuani, so it's a pretty safe play to get Ashe into play. And she is going to mean that they don't really have great blocks, because we can take the 2-1 there onto the Starlit Seer, and then the Ashe will Frostbite the other one, so she'll just hit for however much that number is. They play another one, because of course they just have another one of these weird 2/3s in hand, I guess. But it's much better than some other cards they can play. So they will end up frostbiting and making Ashe vulnerable to try and kill her. I Crystal Arrow Sejuani, which is going to frostbite all of the rest of their units. Kind of inconvenient that they didn't have something a little bit better, but, you know, sucks for them, great for us. Here, we've got 3 mana left. The fish fight I would like to be able to play, but I don't have anything equipped, and I don't have anything particularly capable of fighting at that moment. So I can pretty freely attack here, because they can't actually kill Ashe with what they have in play. They could have a way to pump Sejuani, but they don't currently, it doesn't look like. So I get that attack in just to find out what I need to care about. And as it turns out, they end up drawing a 1-mana 6/7, which is wild. Very gigantic. Glad I made that attack then. And then I play the 4/5. We've got 2 mana left, so I use this to fight, maybe surprisingly, the 6/7, because I don't think that they have a Sejuani in hand now, but this Sejuani is going to be... This Sejuani is going to be 0 power pretty much for the rest of the game, as long as we keep killing the other things. And as long as their Sejuani is in play and at 0 power, they can't play their other copies of Sejuani as anything other than +3/+4s, which makes it very easy for us to kind of control what they can and can't do in the game. So here they have an 8/9. That is certainly scary. I'm not a huge fan of it. But it's also not the end of the world either. Now, I am kind of sad that I unequipped Ashe, because I could make something, or could make everything have barrier. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to tumble the Ashe in, because if you'll notice, they don't have, a lot of their stuff's already frostbitten, so that, I don't even remember what that card is called. The thing that was an 8/9 a minute ago now has 0 power, and I attack, they block with the thing that can draw a card, and they could attack for 2 after that, I guess. It's not all that useful. So I forget what I'm talking about here, frankly. I think I end up equipping... I end up equipping the Starlit Seer, because I want to get more of these equipment out, and I want to make more equipment also for all the units. And then I realize I have multiple... or I have enough mana to fish fight anyway, so I end up doing it mostly just so they can't play anything. I think that it might... that actually probably was a mistake. I think that I should have let... should have saved the card, and I could have done that later. And then I would have another golden spatula in hand. Not that you need a million golden spatulas, and that would be my 4th, but, you know, you can never have too many spatulas, I guess. So I'm out of tumbles. I don't have any way to get free attacks anymore, but I do have more spatulars.
Fight like the animal you are. Men are fish, unsuited to war.
And then I can use Fish Fight to kill this 6/9 that they played. Nice.
Blessed by snow and stars.
So we found the catch, which just basically lets us save 1 mana. Sometimes saving 1 mana is all you need. It also lets me draw Vayne, which is kind of what I'm wanting to do at this point. We can play the Vayne,
Monsters still lurk in Demasia's every
and
shadow.
quietly we can also, if something dies, we could play the Watch Wolf, although it doesn't end up coming up, but just in case there was something I was missing.
The war is over. Now we rebuild.
So Sejuani, easy defeat. We get our one of our quests for like the dailies. That's cool. So here, my instinct was to take Gain Life, because gaining life is very powerful in this mode. I end up taking just +2/+2 on Vayne because she's a 2-drop. She comes out very early, and having her be a 5/6 is a lot. Here, for our second power, Fixer Upper is just a great spell in general, and especially as long as you have a lot of units in your deck anyway, and we do. Now, I go for Poros. This is definitely one of the harder vicious enemy levels. The one in the last video with Vayne against Zed was, you know, kind of annoying, but not that strong. This one actually can just kind of run you over. But we have no fear, and I like being greedy, and let's have a challenge. Let's play 1 mana to start versus 3 mana to start, and see how this goes. But I have a lot of faith in this Vayne deck. Maybe a little bit misplaced this turn, or at least for this start, where I do not have a Vayne, which is kind of the key card. That's what all of my upgrades have been to. Shockingly, the Vayne deck is about playing Vayne. Who would have called it? Now, I do have a 5/7 because of Fixer Upper, so it's not as important to get the Golden Spatula onto our Elk because it's already kind of gigantic. So I play the 2/3, and they play an Affectionate Poro. And the way that this level works is that they have a power that whenever a Poro dies, one, you make a copy of it in your deck, on the bottom of your deck, or shuffle into your deck, or their deck, and second, all the other Poros with that name get +1/+1. So they use that power to kill the Ranger Knight that I just played. And these units can become gigantic. I have definitely played against 7/7 and 8/8 Jubilant Poros before, with everything else being huge, because they just keep finding the same ones over and over and over. Now here, I'm going to catch, mostly because I want to find this Vayne. I really need to find Vayne instead of Ash, so I was hoping I wasn't going to draw the other copy. Thankfully I didn't. Because I know that I'm going to need to flip them if we're going to make anything happen. Now, because of how their power works, they can use earlier blockers to give later blockers with the same name +1/+1 by having them die to something. So I make sure to order the Vayne to be attacking first, so because the Elk is way harder to kill. I don't think that it would come up, but I also don't really want to test it at this particular moment. Now, thing that I didn't really think about is that the 5/6, or that their Challenger Poros are up to 5/6s, so it's actually quite difficult for us to flip Vayne at this point. So because of that, I end up using the Tumble to put a Golden Spatula on and raise its power, or I'm sorry, raise its toughness to 6. This does not solve everything for us, though. I need to Brutal Steel, because I realized, oh wait, if they block, I'll actually just lose it. I would like for them not to be able to kill our Vayne. It's a desperate attempt, so I just kill this, and they summoned a Sled. This might have been, it may have been a little bit of a mistake to prioritize having Vayne live so much. Oftentimes, just in card games in general, it is better to play your own game than it is to fall into the trap of like trying to stop your opponent's game or play on their terms too much. And I definitely played into that a little bit. We just took something like 20 or like 14 damage. A little scary. So at this point, I realize I really need to end the game because the longer this goes, the harder it's going to be for us. And they have a hand of 6 cards where all of their 1-mana plays are up to like 2/3s and 3/4s and 7/8s and whatever. So I think that I do something here. I'm forgetting what it would be. I Brittle Steel. That makes sense. So we Brittle Steel the 2/3, the Augment Poro. so that Vayne continues to live, which I suppose is, like, you know, a thing, but it is a little concerning that our opponent, we killed a few of their units, and they have not just, like, filled their bench back up, but also replaced one for no reason, because the AI likes to do that sometimes. Unfortunately for us, all of their Poros have 4 more health, which means Crystal Arrow, which I thought was going to do a lot, actually does nothing here. We can Frostbite one thing. But we can use the catch to put a Golden Spatula onto Ash, and then play this 5-drop, Kind-Hearted Recruit or something, which is a 5-mana 5/5 that gives all of our equipped creatures barrier. So rather than having to spend our entire turn figuring out how to let Vayne live, we can just do that. And then they play a Poro Sled. Poro Sled is going to hit us for a lot, because it summons another attacking creature. Thankfully, it summoned one that, 1, we can't block anyway, and 2, is still small. I make a bit of a mistake here. Like I said, you can block. You need to block the later ones if possible. If I had moved everything over, we would have had a couple more points of life. Instead, we're at 2. Now, good news. Notice that Challenger Poro is now a 7/3, which means that if we Crystal Arrow the sled Poro, then we will Frostbite everything.
This is the power of an Iceborn.
And because Ash is leveled, they can't block. Anything with 0 power can't block. We also have the ability to Frostbite something. It doesn't actually matter here, because when we attack, Ash will Frostbite. How I ended up playing this, I believe, is that I tumble Vayne. I play the Elk and I play the Ranger Knight thing. I think I'm trying to see what they're going to do. I think it would have been better to tumble first, because then they definitely wouldn't have been able to block, which would have been much better. Here, I think they are technically allowed to block with their 7/8.
Every last monster will be purged.
Oh no, they're allowed to block with their 2/4. So they save a few points of life here, which could have been very, very scary.
The little ones.
If I had just tumbled instead, that would have been better.
Purge with silver.
So I do look at how much damage that's going to deal. They would be at 1. Thankfully, they don't have cards in hand, so there's nothing really that can get in the way at this point. And we kill them. Now, I'm at 2. Do you think that's a problem?
Now begins a new era.
It's not great. So, was this power worth it? We'll find out. So we get fish. We could take Fish Fight and have it get the ability to invoke, which would, you know, certainly give us 6 copies of Fish Fight. I don't love that because it's way too many Fish Fight, but it is really funny, and so I'm a little bit split here. Like, what do you do? Do you take the funny choice, or do we take something bad that I don't really want because it's, you know, not putting a million Fish Fights in our deck? Apparently I have to think about this for a long time. Yeah, we take the fun choice. That's the goal. I would rather take the fun card in a lot of cases. Here we have Raiden Party. It's not great. None of this was amazing. Here we see one of my favorite powers, which is Hold It. Round Start, Stun the strongest enemy. My logic is that in the past it has worked very nicely that it stuns, that something gets frostbitten and then something gets stunned. The way that it applies them, apparently, is literally just top down, so it's not like oldest to newest power. So the fact that we took the stun after the frostbite means that it's going to go down at the start of the match and look at all of our powers and go, okay, something is stunned, and then the strongest thing is stunned, and then the strongest thing is frostbitten. That's useless because the thing that it's frostbiting is now already stunned anyway, so out of the Poro level, we got nothing. The strongest thing can't block. It also can't. It doesn't have power either. great. If it had been the other way, then it would mean that we would effectively just remove 2 attackers and blockers every turn, and that is very, very difficult to lose from, and is a great way to solve our we're at 2 health problem. Here, I don't consider that I really, really need a 1-drop. So we've gained 2 health, because we gain 2 health every round, because we're at above that level in Path of Champions. And now I am at 1. So we're literally not allowed to take damage this round, or it will be a problem. So here, I attack, because we can attack pretty easily and get away with it with Vayne. She has enough power or enough toughness that we could actually make her live fairly easily by moving spatulas around. And here we see that they frostbitten stunned. Same thing, so now they have a stunned 0-1. Great. Thankfully they play a 0-4 instead of like something with power and toughness. So it's around here that I realize I kind of need to get units into play, because I could very easily be dead. And I'm debating which ones. Now, playing a Zealous Ranger Knight does save us a mana, and we can play the Golden Spatula, or I can play the Faithful Watchwolf and save 1 mana over, just in general, but we don't get that discount. So I end up going the Wolf because it makes more sense to me. We get to save 1 mana overall. Oh, I forgot, I think we picked up Rally every turn at some point, which is going to kind of help us out a lot in this level, where we're at 1, because a good way to stop your opponent from stop your opponent from attacking for 1 is to always put them under the gun. Now the opponent, like in a world where the AI was better, would not block and use their life as a resource, where they're not going to die to that attack I just made, but they will block for some reason. And we could have, if it were a human opponent, we would almost certainly be dead here, because they would just save their units up, make sure that get to a point where they have more units than us, and then just attack us. But as it is, they're going to start blocking, which isn't helpful for them. Now, I have 3 mana, and I think I'm debating what to do with it. I end up playing the Zealous Ranger Knight because we have the brittle something in hand anyway. Brittle Steel. And then I attack with, and did I play the Ranger, or attack with the Ranger Knight? Yeah, I attack with the Ranger Knight, I think, because I decide that if they block it instead, no, I don't attack with it, even though I just played it, I want to say. Because I think that it's better to, I think this is literally what I'm talking about too in the video, if I had to guess, is that this is lethal, but they only have to block 1 to stop it. If they block, they chump block something and then put the other card in front of our 2/3, we could be in a situation where it's kind of problematic. As it is, they end up chump blocking, but I think even if I had attacked the other way, we would have ended up with them blocking that. So I use the Fish Fight to fight their 4/7. At this point, I'm mostly just taking any opportunity I can to remove something from the battlefield so that I don't just lose.
Watch them run.
Now the +3/+3 has gone to the Ranger Knight now, so it's a 5/6. Excuse me. And I think I'm debating how I want to play this. I use the Fish Fight to attack the Uzgar the Ancient. And I think I pick up the 2 stunning enemies just in case they play something that like makes multiple things. They play an Ancestral Boon, which doesn't really do anything at this point. Grants the top ally in their deck something, or maybe all of their cards something. It doesn't really matter because they don't have much mana left. And from here, I'm allowed to just attack and win, because they have nothing in play. But just in case I have the tumble, even if they had something in hand, like Frostbite, Vayne, or whatever, we would still be able to attack and win.
Expertly
or should be able to anyway.
Now to root out the next Vayne.
So, despite being at 1, we survived. And we went to the direction with Scribe of Sorrows. Scribe of Sorrows is basically my favorite event in this in Path of Champions, because we're allowed to buy round 1, get a temporary mana gem. which is called Power. It's a power called Power. Neat. So I buy 3 of them. So we'll start the Nautilus level, and only the Nautilus level, with 4 mana. Now, what I'm talking about here is that the play I should make, because I have access to it, is the ability to just buy my way back up to full health. But that's boring. And that is not fun. I should live with the consequences of my actions, because I messed up. So I just take a regular heal. I go from 1 to 8, get my 2 from the level, and we're going to do this with 10 life. That's what I think. I consider a bit for on this Brittle Steel. Ultimately decide that I want to get rid of it, because it's not really the sort of card that I want to keep in hand, and Nautilus's deck does not have a lot of small threats. So it's not going to come up that often. Now, like I said, we start with 4 mana. So we can play Vayne, equip Vayne, and attack. I do consider briefly that like I might want to hold on to the equipping until the Golden Spatula comes up. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to make an equipment every turn because I have the attack token. Or, I'm sorry, I don't make one every turn. I make one still every other turn, but I do frequently make them anyway. We'll get, if we want to make the elk have toughness, we will have our opportunities too. Just not right now, you know. So we attack for 9. We kill their 3/5. They do toss 3 cards because Nautilus's power is, I'm about to put it on screen. When any unit dies, heal the foe's nexus for 1, and the foe tosses 1 if they are not deep. So nicely shuts off once they get to deep, because running out of cards is a very easy way to win this, for you to win this level. I briefly forget that I can attack every turn, and then I notice my cards are highlighted. And we attack them from 33 down to, or 35 down to 20. It's about this point that I realize this game isn't going to be going on much longer. So I attack for another 16. They play a Beast below. And at that point, the game is over because I have 4 mana. I can fish fight. We can hit their big fish with our little fish, and for some reason there just dies. Doesn't matter, so I just click the charger, why not? And then the tumble to get our free attack is game. And just for rub-ins, we get to re-equip the Spatular onto Vayne. So they'll take 12. And we had, oh, I'm sorry, 13. We had one of the easier Nautilus runs I've ever had. But Vayne just hit so hard so quickly that it really did not matter. It really helped that I got that rally after I took a really useless power. That stun never did anything. Like, actually did nothing over just having Frostbite, because they always hit the exact same thing, which is not how you want to pick that. So, lesson learned. If you already have the Frostbite power, don't take the stun power. It doesn't work how you want. If it's the other way, do it, because it's actually really, really good. So, I succeeded the level. It correctly judges us as not having done very well because I have very little health left. I could probably have fixed that, but I don't really care about those rating things. I don't really know what I don't get what they are, to be honest. And that is it. So thank you everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy these little videos. I've just been recording my runs, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye.